What's going on YouTube? So of course these days it is hard for a brand to have too many crossovers, and Lexus is one of the best about offering a crossover or SUV in pretty much every possible size category. This is the UX, the smallest and most affordable Lexus crossover, and actually the entry point for the entire brand with a starting price of just $33,000. So with a few updates for 2022, is this a great entry-level luxury crossover? Let's go ahead and find out. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about our exterior design to start with. Of course, the UX has always been a very stylish little crossover, and that continues on this year. There are some styling updates, which I'll talk about in just a second, but as far as the front end design, that itself has not really changed for 2022. You'll notice, of course, we have that signature spindle grille up here in the front. This is the luxury model, so it has the more traditional look. We have a kind of a gray finished mesh through here. If you choose the F Sport model, that's going to go for a more aggressive full gloss black mesh, and I believe that also smokes out the chrome down here at the bottom as well. This is the hybrid model, so we do have the blue accented Lexus badge. Now as we come over here to the headlights, we have a really beautiful design on board. All the models will come with LED headlights, but we have opted for the optional triple beam LED headlights on this example. That's going to give you this just really nice looking design with the triple headlights. You've got your turn signal over there and a kind of three-dimensional design for the daytime running light that goes across the top. Looks really, really nice. Additionally, that is also going to throw in the cornering lamps that we have on this specific example, which are right next to our standard LED fog lights. But let's talk about some of those 2022 changes. One of those changes is that we have two new paint colors, which I'll put across the screen down here at the bottom. This is not one of the new colors, but this is Lexus' new signature Nori green. Absolutely a beautiful color in person. That's why I wanted to mention it. It has a lot of depth and a lot of pearl and looks different when the lighting hits it or doesn't. I really like it on this specific car as well. This right here is also another 2022 change. So you'll notice that the fenders here are actually painted as it goes around the wheel arches. This was previously a matte black plastic. Now, if you choose anything except for the very base UX200, it will be painted body color, which I think is a very nice improvement. It makes a bigger difference than you would expect when you see it in person. Now coming down here and talking about the wheels, one of the nice things about the UX is that you always have standard 18-inch alloy wheels. So I do like that. There's several different designs, of course. You have a contrast design for most of the models. You have a gloss black design if you go for the F Sport. And then on this specific example, we have an optional wheel, which further elevates the design with these little contrast accents that kind of poke out. It looks like a turbine. I really like the way this looks. And then as we move up here to the mirrors, these are finished in gloss black, have that signature Lexus accent that runs through here. You will have standard heating and standard blind spot monitoring, and then this specific example, being the luxury model, also throws in auto dimming and power folding.
All right, so let's talk about the sizing of the Lexus UX. I'm sure this is probably an area you're very curious about, because really I'm always curious about it as well, as how it fits into this lineup. So this, of course, is the smallest Lexus SUV that you can get, and as far as the length, it's coming in at 177 inches in length, which is around 6.5 inches shorter than that all-new NX model. Now, one thing I do want to point out, though, is just how low this SUV is. I'm not even tall, I'm 5'9", and I'm well above the roofline. So that's an interesting element for the UX. Now we do have chrome trim all around the windows. We also have this little accent right here up at the top. And then coming around to the rear design for the UX, it's going to be a very unique looking vehicle. They haven't really changed much for 2022 in terms of the design. So you're going to have that signature UX look. So we have exposed rear wiper up here at the top, and then we're going to have the full-length LED tail lights. These are, of course, the biggest element that you're going to notice about the rear design are these really cool tail lights. Honestly, these are almost as cool. I think they might even be cooler than the Lexus NX taillights because they have a really cool three-dimensional shape. As you can see, they have created like this little area right here, which I assume is for aerodynamics. And then every single component in this taillight is going to be fully LED. So you have the LED accenting, the LED turn signal, which is amber, as well as the brake light. Then if we drop down to this lower area, you will notice that we do have black matte plastic, no exposed exhaust outlets on any of the UX models. However, the F Sport would give you a little bit of a different design for this lower area. And I do want to point out, Lexus does not recommend towing for any of the models. Now, in typical Lexus fashion, you are going to have a really great suite of safety systems as standard equipment. It's going to be their Safety Suite 2.0 system. So that's going to include all of your standard stuff like forward emergency braking, lane keeping assist, auto high beams, as well as adaptive cruise control. And that's going to be standard on every single UX model. Now, as far as your warranty is concerned, you're also going to have Lexus's signature warranty, which is a 4-year, 50,000 mile basic warranty, 6-year, 70,000 mile powertrain warranty. Well guys, that's all for the exterior design of this Nori Green UX. I really love the paint color. There's a white interior waiting for you on the inside, so let's go ahead and check that out before we take it out in a spin.
So heading up to our UX, of course, you are going to find Lexus Intelligent Entry System, as you would expect. And getting inside the vehicle is as easy as just reaching behind the handle. When you do, the luxury model will fold the mirrors out. Take a quick look inside here. All right, let's go ahead and get in. And of course, let's go ahead and take a look at our different interior color and material choices. So all of the models are going to come with the Lexus New Lux leatherette seating. Feels very realistic, just like in all the other Lexus products. And in terms of your color options, you're going to have several. So we have black, glazed caramel, or the birch that you see here, which is a very white looking design. I love the way these seats look and feel in person. You've got the perforation down the middle, you've got the dark color contrast, you've got the nice quilting details along the side here, and you even have surprisingly thick bolstering, even though this is not the F Sport model. Very comfortable to set in over a long trip as well. As far as the seats themselves, they are going to be 8-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support as standard on the driver's side. Now let's turn over here to our door trim area. As you can see, we do have a nicely finished armrest here in the leatherette. All the rest of this is going to be a soft touch plastic, and we've got that cool signature Lexus door handle. As far as our 3-person memory seating, that's going to be included on the luxury model we have with us today. And kind of looking at the broader materials as a whole. So you'll notice, again, pretty nice materials. This is an affordable luxury crossover, but we still have a nice soft touch material across the top. And then the unique part about having the luxury model means we're going to have this washi. This is a Japanese fabric material on the top. Kind of feels like rubber when I touch it, and you can actually get this in a really cool blue color if you prefer something with a little bit more pop. In terms of the other materials, it is going to be soft touch as we move down, and you are going to have a nice leatherette pad against the console here for your knee to rest against, and everything does fit together extremely well, of course, being a Lexus. Now to start up, put your foot on the brake and press the blue button. And one of the things you'll notice right from the start is a very premium gauge cluster. It reminds me a lot of what you have in the Lexus LS. So this is mostly a digital setup from this point over to the left-hand side. Of course, on the far left, this is your multi-function display, and this gives you access to all the information you expect, including your safety systems. Then right there in the middle, you have your power gauge. And then this does change when you change to drive mode, so that is what the Sport one looks like, where it goes to a more traditional look, and then normally it just kind of has your hybrid gauges. And then up above that, on this specific model, we do have the optional head-up display. This is a really nice head-up display. It is very large, very vivid, and contains a lot of different information, including, once again, you have your hybrid gauges, and it also has things like your blind spot monitoring. Now pulling back to the steering wheel, we do have the latest Lexus design. Of course, fully leather wrapped, nicely padded with the double stitching details. This specific example, it is also heated optionally, and we do have power adjustment. The luxury model is going to throw in rain sensing wipers as well. Now this is a pretty small luxury crossover, so let's go ahead and check the interior storage. So opening up our center console, just like with the other Lexus products, it does open to both sides, which is kind of a fun trick. And then looking inside, you have a decent amount of space. It's nothing too large as you would expect, but it looks like it could collect a little bit of stuff. You do have a felt lining down at the bottom. You also have your 2 USB ports. But let's put it to the real test. It's gonna be close, but we can see if we can put these coupons in here. Looks like with a little push, we can actually fit those in there, so that's good. Up in front of that, of course, we've got our 2 cup holders, and we have another little storage area, which is good for your cell phone because it is a wireless phone charging pad if you have that option. And then you also have a 12-volt outlet right next to that pops out. Now coming back to our shifter, we have that nice signature Lexus shifter. As you pull back for drive, of course, you can bump to the left if you want to shift through some simulated gear changes manually, but there are no paddles on the steering wheel. And then when we go into reverse, you're going to see a traditional backup camera appear across all models. So there's actually no 360-degree offering with the UX. Of course, that's not really a big deal because this is a very small crossover. And as you can see, you do have, like I said, active trajectory right through there, as well as your parking sensors. When you put the vehicle into park, your automatic electronic parking brake will activate, and then right behind that we do have our brake hold button. Now as we pull over here to the right side of that button, you'll notice one of the more unique design elements with this cabin, and that's the fact that kind of built into the end of the armrest here, we have a lot of controls for our audio system in general. So you do have a volume roller up here in the front, and you've got some buttons kind of built into the sides of this control, which I think is a really good use of space for sure. As far as the sound system itself though, it is 6 speakers across the entire lineup, so you cannot get a Mark Levinson with this UX, so that's something to keep in mind if you are a big audiophile. But with that said, let's go ahead and give it a sample. So overall sound quality is decent. It's just nothing really specific to write home about. Like I said, it might be a reason to get an NX if you want a more advanced sound system. Up in front of that, we do have our Lexus remote touch controller. I'm going to talk about this in just a second, but it is not a touch display, so you do have to use this control knob. And then as we rise up the dashboard, the next place we come to is our big row of basically seat climate controls. So on this luxury model, that is going to give us both heated and ventilated seats, both of which do have the automatic function, so they will activate and scale up and down as needed inside of the vehicle. And then like I mentioned earlier, we do have the heated steering wheel, which is also automatic. Up above that, we do have a traditional CD player as well. And then our broad climate controls are located right here. This is a dual zone automatic setup. Very easy to use. You just adjust the temperature up and down with these toggles. You have your fan speeds right through there, as well as your other functions like your zones. And this is a good point to kind of look at. You can kind of tell that the dashboard really angles a lot towards the driver, which I think is really nice because of course someone is always going to be driving the vehicle, but not always riding in the vehicle. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk next about our infotainment system. So this is running the Lexus Inform system. This is not the brand new infotainment system that we now see in the NX that just came out. As such, it does have the older design. Like I was mentioning, this does not have a touchscreen capability. So a few of the Lexus products like the RX, they did update to make it a touchscreen, but as you can tell, this is way too far away for you to reach. So it is going to be using that remote touch interface exclusively, which does make things quite a bit harder to control. In terms of the screen size, you're going to have a standard 7-inch display on this model. However, the luxury model will come with the 10.3-inch display, and you can get that on the other trim levels as well, optionally. I should also mention that with this larger display, that is going to throw in the navigation system, and you have standard Android Auto and Apple CarPlay wired variety across both screen sizes. Now moving on up here, we do have an auto dimming mirror with the HomeLink universal remotes. That's thrown in with the luxury model. You have the touch sensitive lighting like many of the other Lexus products. And then up here on the roof, we do have a moonroof. This is a traditional sized unit. It's one of the other features that's included standard on the luxury model, although you can also option that on to the lower trim levels if you prefer.
All right, guys, so join me in the Lexus UX's rear area. Now, as far as the space is concerned back here, this is one of the smallest offerings in the entire segment. And, you know, there's really not much hiding that. So as you can see, behind Drew's seating position, he's a modest-sized adult. He's 5'8", I'm 5'9". And as you can see, I'm only going to have a few inches of rear legroom to spare. As far as the technical measurements are coming in, they're going to be 33.1 inches of legroom, 36.6 inches of headroom, which does place it quite a bit smaller than the Volvo XC40, Audi Q3, BMW X1, all of its main competition. This is going to be pretty much the smallest thing in the entire segment. That said, it's really not an awful amount of space, and my feet can still slide up underneath of the seat. And as far as the features that Lexus has thrown in, we do have vents here in the middle. As you would expect, that is going to be standard equipment on the UX. Then if we drop down below that, we have 2 USB Type-C ports to keep things charged up. Then if we fold down the center armrest, you will notice that we do have cup holders inside. Heated rear seats are not going to be offered for the Lexus UX. And then turning your attention towards the door trim, we do have a hard touch upper portion, which is different from the front. However, our armrest is going to be leather wrapped, and there is no bottle storage. All right, and coming up to the tailgate of the UX, you can get a power one optionally. This particular model has it included with the luxury package. It's going to be a hands-free power tailgate. So just kick your foot under the bumper to open up. As you can see, it does work pretty well. Now, let's talk about the cargo area for the UX. Now, like I said in the second row, this is going to be one of the smaller options in the segment. As far as for this hybrid model, we're looking at 17.1 cubic feet of cargo space behind the second row seats. As you can see, that's not a ton of cargo capacity. It's a little bit more than what you would get in an equivalent sedan or something like that. If you fold the seats down, you're going to have a maximum of 40.4 cubic feet for the hybrid model. Now, something I do want to point out is that the hybrid does reduce the cargo capacity ever so slightly from the regular gas model. It's going to be around 4 cubic foot less for the hybrid. So I think the UX200 is coming in at 21 cubic feet of space behind the second row. Now, as far as the finishings are concerned back here, we do have a cargo cover up top. Off to the left side, we're going to have a 12-volt outlet. And then if we lift up the cargo floor here, see if I can get my hands up under here, you will find a little bit of additional space, and that actually goes all the way across the entire cargo floor. So I'm not sure if that's included in that cargo figure, but that's quite a bit of additional space that you can get. And then it is worth noting that the seats do fold 60-40 split. There's not going to be any handles back here in the cargo department, so you just have to reach up and push it forward. Now, our passenger seat is going to be power adjusting, as you would expect. We do not have lumbar support though, so that's something worth noting. Now, if we pop open the glove box here, this is going to be a little tight as far as the space is concerned. However, you know, it's still plenty of space to fit our coupons. As you can see, they slide right back in there. It's pretty much made for pieces of paper. I do want to point out it's not felt lined, however, it is nicely dampened. And up top, if we look at that, we have a sun visor, as a mirror, as some lighting as well. And then if we detach it, we can also extend it out.
All right, and there's 60 miles per hour. So obviously the focus of the UX is not exactly power. This is a hybrid, so the focus is fuel economy, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But as far as the power itself, so with the hybrid model, you're going to have 181 horsepower. That's going to be up 12 horsepower from the regular 2-liter motor, which is going to be making 169 horsepower instead. So you do have just a little bit of a bump when you choose the hybrid model in terms of power. In terms of like actually out on the street, it feels a little bit more substantial than the numbers would indicate, because you do have that kind of electric torque, which gets you off the line a little bit faster. So I do think in the real world, the hybrid feels spunkier.
Yeah, and you know, this is a very small vehicle, so just in general, you don't need a ton of power to get it up to speed. If you're curious about the 0 to 60 figures, you know, of course, it's not fast by any means. The regular model is going to be 8.9 seconds. This hybrid is going to be rated at 8.6 seconds to 60.
Now, in terms of our transmission, as you could probably tell, we do have a continuously variable transmission on board with this model. There's another difference between the regular and the hybrid model. You have this traditional continuously variable with the hybrid. If you go for the 200 model, that actually has the same continuously variable as like a Toyota Corolla, where it has the first gear is a physical launch gear, and then it shifts into a continuously variable. And then the other really important thing to keep in mind between the 200 and the 250 hybrid is the fact that the 200 is going to be front-wheel drive only, and then when you choose the hybrid model, that's going to be all-wheel drive only. So if you want the all-wheel drive system, you're going to need to choose this model right here.
Yeah. It's really not that bad power-wise, I don't think. I mean, it's not exactly quick, but I think in the day-to-day driving operations, and you know, we've tested this car out pretty extensively over the last week, and really in day-to-day situations, the power is definitely not a problem at all.
And I'm pretty sure the U is for urban.
Yeah, of course.
This is a small little crossover. This is for just casual, you know, city driving. It's not about the power.
Yeah, and another thing that we've really noticed and very much appreciated over the last week is the ride quality. We're just cruising down here on a highway, and I think that's where it really exemplifies this the best. This UX really has a fantastic ride quality. For being the most affordable Lexus, you really wouldn't be able to tell it. The ride quality is awesome. It soaks up the bumps way better than you would think out of a small SUV like this. And as far as the noise level, we'll take a sample here. It sounds very quiet. We're looking at 53.1 decibels. That honestly is one of the lowest readings that we've gotten on any Lexus product, and I'd say maybe one of the reasons for that is because this car is very aerodynamic, so it just kind of glides through the air, you know, and gets you a very quiet cabin, and also Lexus really hasn't cheaped out on any of the sound deadening or anything like that.
And being a hybrid, the engine is not necessarily, you know, even running.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about that, I do want to point out that just like with all the other Toyota and Lexus hybrid systems, this thing is absolutely seamless. I really can't say that enough. You cannot feel the trade-off between running on battery power and running on the engine power. It's not something you can feel. You can, of course, hear the engine if you're really, you know, going after it hard, but when you're just driving around like most people will be doing in the city at regular speed, at a regular pace, you just cannot even tell when that trade-off is happening.
Yeah.
And that's just something that comes from the expertise of Toyota and Lexus, because they've been building hybrids for pretty much longer than anyone else.
The best in the business, for sure. Now, if you're curious about the fuel economy, that's of course an important part about having a hybrid. We're looking at really exceptional fuel economy. So we're looking at 41, 38, 39 miles a gallon combined for this 250h model. So you're looking at almost 40 miles a gallon combined, 41 in the city. It's amazing fuel economy out of an SUV. If you go for the regular one, it's going to be 32 miles a gallon combined, so you're looking at 7 MPG increase for the hybrid. So I think that's one of the many more reasons to buy the hybrid.
I'm trying to see where the engine will turn on here. We're just going on with full EV power right now. Alright, right, so right there. So we made it up to 28 miles per hour, and we were going up a hill. So it will stay in the battery power quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we'll go ahead and talk today's slam dunk and airball. So for the slam dunk, I think we have to go back to the fuel economy. That really is just so exceptional. Really stands out from the competition as well, because those are typically just a little bit better than their larger siblings. Yeah. But with this, Toyota is really delivering just absolutely exceptional fuel economy that definitely stands out from the competitors.
Yeah. And for our airball for today, that's going to be just the space. I think that's really the biggest con about this UX, especially when you compare it to its rivals. You're going to have a lot less cargo space, a lot less second row space. It's just a little tight. And we're not even big people, but it's just not really comfortable to have 5 adults inside of this cabin, which I think is kind of an issue when you're looking at Audi Q3 or something like that. But price is also an attractive area for the UX. So for 2022, we're going to have a starting price of $33,000 for the base UX200. If you go for the hybrid, that starts at $35,200. This one is pretty much fully tarted up with all the options. This is the luxury. We have a lot of the individual options, plus $1,075 is going to bring this one to exactly $46,600.
But overall, this Lexus UX Hybrid has definitely been a very pleasant vehicle to live with. Outside of having, a large family or being like really tall or having a lot of stuff, this really does nail the entry-level luxury crossover, especially when we're talking about the fuel economy. You can drive pretty much any way as aggressively as you can, and you cannot make this get bad fuel economy. And that's something, like I said, that really stands out against the competitors. And of course, just all in all, it's a very solid product, and you definitely have a really solid price as well.
Well, guys, we really appreciate you watching our in-depth review of the 2022 Lexus UX250h Hybrid. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please hit that subscribe button down below. Join this Car Confections family. I promise you won't regret it. We make detailed car reviews almost every single day of the week. So if you want to know more about the auto industry, hit that subscribe button down below. Also follow us on TikTok and Instagram, where we have other forms of content. And we'll see you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.